intro. Well, I'm so excited to be here. Yes, I am an alumni. I love to tell my story. So my background, just so you know, it has been very much customer service up until I got out of college. I came to SDSU for pharmacy, which is hilarious if you know me. Chemistry was not helping my life very much. So I switched on over to graphic design. I probably should have stayed there. I love marketing. I love design and art. And then I ended up just loving my psychology class and switched to that. And that all happened that first year. The advisors, the teachers, everybody was so amazing. So I talk about that a lot because as we talk about communication, I want you to understand that communication is different for each style. And so over my life, I've taken that psychology background, and then I got my MBA and went into HR, and I really used it. It was never a plan, but I used it to kind of coach and help people. So I sometimes think I should have just went into communication and marketing rather than HR. I don't necessarily love rules. So you'll see if you friend me online on LinkedIn, and which I hope you do, you'll see that my background absolutely has went in from all parts of HR and more focused into recruitment. So I do a lot with that. So if you ever need anything from me, reach out. But also with training, development, employee relations. And I really moved away from payroll and benefits. So why that matters is as we get to know each other, the style of a person, you can communicate one way, but it might not hit this person correctly, and it might work really well for this one. So we'll talk about that as we go. So a lot of times I was here yesterday doing a LinkedIn training. So if you ever need that, let me know. But I'm definitely interested in communication and how it can be better. One of my mantras is definitely we're here to connect. Connect very easily. That usually has something to do with your style. Oh, shoot. I hope that's okay. Is it okay if I do the full slideshow? Can I go? Okay, perfect. I just didn't want to mess anything up there. Okay, so first of all, when we're talking about communication, you need to know yourself. So this is one of my favorite quotes, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. I'm just going to touch on using some tools to get us started. So I've been certified in DISC and Enneagram for a while. I've been using DISC for about 16 years and actually a few other assessments. I've always used it for hiring and team building and things like that. But over the years, I've started to realize the number one problem that I help with in my roles is truly misunderstanding and communication. So I feel like it's very helpful to understand yourself. You cannot begin to understand other people until you know yourself. So if you've never taken a DISC, an Enneagram, a Myers-Briggs, a Strength Finders, any of those things, please do. There's a lot of free versions online. I also have, oh, go ahead. Yeah. Oh, um, yeah, it just says I'm sharing. It looks pretty normal. I wonder if I should just, I wonder if I should relaunch. How's that? Okay, awesome. Um, and so as we go, let's hope this works. Okay, as we go, you'll want to keep in mind that just because you communicate and understand and network and need certain things and learn a certain way, people are different. So if you don't have access to something, I also have those for free. So just message me. If you friend me on LinkedIn, I'll send you a link and you can use that for free. I have a lot of different assessments, but it will really truly help you with understanding because we can't really get into communication, networking, mentorship if we don't understand that. So you want to study yourself and then start to study others. This is just a real quick slide about one of my favorite assessments, DISC. It's very easy to use. You may have already used one and you don't even know it. A lot of companies use it. A lot of churches and groups and even just fun online tests have a DISC. Sometimes they're animals, sometimes they're colors, sometimes they're just different things, but it's usually a DISC. So just remember, depending on your style, you may prefer things differently. So D's are going to be more dominant. They're very fast paced and direct. I's are like D's. They're very fast paced and direct, but they are more people centered. So D's will think more about goals and tasks. I's will be fast, but they'll think more about emotions and feelings. S's are a lot like the I's in that they're very people focused as well. but they're going to be at a slower pace. They're more methodical. There's nothing wrong with that. There is no wrong style. And then there's also a C, which has a lot in common with an S in that they're a moderate pace. But they're going slower because they want things to be right. They're perfectionists. They're very detail oriented, but they're a lot like their friend, the D's, and that they're once again on that task side. So just even the basics of understanding that can help you. The number one thing I'll tell you in human resources, marketing, communications, any of the things I've done, the problems have usually arisen from opposite styles. Okay. So even if you're at a mixer, you're networking, or you're trying to find a mentor, you're going to want to make sure you have the right style, because if you're speaking different languages, that won't help you very much. D's and S's are opposites, I's and C's are opposites, okay? And it's because they come from a different perspective. Does that make sense before we go forward? Cool. Okay, and then another thing, I just wanted to add this. My slideshows are very wordy. I don't recommend, but I do this because in case you need it as a resource, you can refer back to it. So I put this in here too, just to show some of the gifts of each style. As you can see, this one looks a little different, but it does help you remember who's fast-paced, lower paced, task-oriented, people-oriented, and then all the things that come with them. So I'm an IS with some C and low D. So it means you can see on that right side, I'm very much into verbalizing, communicating, building relationships, maintaining harmony. Now, if I'm trying to connect, maybe I need a mentor. I may want to connect with the opposite because they're going to have gifts I don't have, and they're going to bring perspectives to me that I don't have. So I'm going to probably try to be friends with a D or a C to give me that outside perspective. However, if we don't understand that we're different, we will have problems. They will be frustrated with me and I'll be frustrated with them. So this is just foundational that I want you to think about. I do like 2-hour trainings on this, so it's way too much to get into right now, but I wanted to just get it in front of you. Okay, so let's jump into networking. So for networking, there's some things you can do. I did a little bit of research online just to refresh myself, because I don't know about you guys, but sometimes you end up knowing things so intuitively that you don't know how to tell people about it because it just makes sense to you. Even if you're like, hey, just send an email to this person. Well, what if they've never used a computer? What if they've never used Outlook? So I'm going to try to break this down for you. So when you're thinking about networking, you want to think about why you're doing it. So what's your goal? Are you job hunting? Are you hiring? Are you looking for people? Are you looking for investors, making friends? Maybe you just want to connect with people that do something that you want to eventually do. I would imagine that's a good thing for you guys to think about here, depending on where you're at in your life. But you want to be strategic. So don't just go, even being here, I've noticed how many events you have. Don't just go to every event. You want to be a little more strategic and think about what your goal is. Make sure you research before you start joining expensive events. So let's say there's conferences or something you have to pay for to go to an event to network. Because a lot of times, you guys, in your professional life, you're going to go to events and it's not just for the learning there, because sometimes you already know most of it. It's really to go there and learn a few new things, to get reminders about what's going on, but also to network. And as I go to conferences all over the US, I've made so many friends and we've actually stayed in touch. And it's really nice to have those people to reach out to. So be strategic, because those events can be very expensive. There's also many free events. So especially if you're in school or in your local community, there's a lot of free options. So maybe you dip your toe in and start that way. Another thing you're going to want to do then, once you kind of figure out what your goal is you're going to want to prepare. So if you do choose an event to go to, be sure to research what's expected and who might be there. So like, let's say you're even joining an online event or something like that through Facebook or LinkedIn. You can usually see the list of people that are going to be there. So look that up. Maybe there's somebody you're strategically trying to connect with, like a CEO of a company or a manager in a company you want to work for. Very, very important. Like I said, I teach a LinkedIn course as well, and I talk a lot about finding the right people so that you can gain access to their knowledge, quite frankly. Some conferences and events, like I said, will have lists. So make sure you look that over. Also prepare your elevator pitch, which we'll get into in a little bit here. You want to be able to describe yourself, your business, your personal story, and you want it to be concise. Okay, by the way, as an IS, we're talkers. I have a really hard time being concise. This is absolutely not something that comes easy to me. So I've had to work with my mentors in the past and have them help me fine tune things like that. As you get older as well, more life experience, you'll just get more comfortable with those sorts of things, but you want to think about that and start working on that. And then you can always keep a note on your phone of your elevator pitch, even if you want to just bullet point it out. But again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Networking. So again, the next step is going to be that you want to listen to people and be helpful. So when you have a lot to share, and especially depending on your personality, it's going to be much easier for you to talk. Okay. As an IS, it's very easy for me to talk. But when I was younger, it wasn't so much the case. My personality was a little flipped. I was a little bit more introverted and probably less confident as I didn't have life experience. So you want to be very intentional about who you want to get to know. So when you do that, you could make it a goal. Let's say you went to an event. Let's say you go to a mixer here at school. You could try to talk to everybody, but I would maybe be more strategic. Even go in with the mindset of, I want to meet a few good people tonight that are interested in the things I'm interested, or that knows about something I need to know about. And then you can connect with them. Sometimes just in going to, like, I'll use a chamber mixer. I go to a lot of Sioux Falls chamber mixers. I like to bring people with me. And what usually happens there is I can bring a friend. And then when I get there, I find somebody that I know, and these guys don't know each other. So now I've introduced them, which is a very nice handoff. It's not so awkward. Also, same. My friend or my colleague might introduce me to a few people that I don't know, and it's a soft handoff. It doesn't feel so awkward. Another thing you want to just keep in mind is you want to listen. So as you're getting to know people, no matter if you're extroverted or introverted, you want to try to listen. You can learn so much that way, and then ask thoughtful questions. It's a little bit like an interview, but again, it's casual, have fun. Don't stress yourself over this. This could be something fun for you. And even if you do meet one or two people, that's a nice goal. This is going to help you build trust and goodwill. So you want to talk about things you can do to help. So as you meet people, even today, when I just met you, we were talking about some things, and just even knowing that now I can reach out to him. We're friends on LinkedIn. I could ask him some things. I know his brother lives in New York area and my daughter wants to move there. So you never know who you're going to meet by just sharing some things and by listening. Your goal is truly to help solve problems. If you can be a problem solver for people, you will become very valuable to them. And then in turn, they'll help you. So it's a very nice give and take. Another thing you'll want to do is be authentic. So of course you should be professional at networking events, but it's also important to be yourself and be human. Again, as an IS, I'm very into being genuine. Not everybody is probably as open as me with my personality, but I think it's very important because when I teach LinkedIn, I always tell people, don't try to be somebody you're not online. You know, when I'm telling them to brand themselves and market themselves, don't share like a post about something that isn't really you, because you might attract the wrong employers. You want to attract people that are the people you're going to kind of vibe with. Same with dating or meeting friends. You don't want to go on a date and say they love NASCAR, and now you're going to tell them you love NASCAR when really you hate NASCAR. And then 6 to 12 months in, you're watching NASCAR every day and you're miserable. Well, you kind of sold yourself into that. Same with this. When you meet people at events or you're trying to network, even online, be authentic, be yourself. The right people will be drawn to you. Let's see. So we often connect with people because of a shared passion or interest. So whether that's, you know, just in work or in the world, you really want to share a little bit about yourself. So I've noticed even when I'm meeting new employees, doing an orientation, let's say at Poet where I work, I might talk about my wiener dogs, or my daughter is a senior, or that I am from Nebraska originally. Well, just little things, those little sharing points, you can make friends. Because all of a sudden somebody's like, I have a wiener dog too, or I'm actually from Nebraska too, or I also have a daughter that's trying to go to college and it's confusing. You don't know where you're going to connect with people. So being your true self can really help you with that. Okay, so then after your event, say you go to an event, say it's a little overwhelming, but you meet a few people. This is something I'm not very good at, and I'll be honest about it, but this is a great advice. You want to go take some time afterwards and log that information. So you want to think about who you met. I always think I'm going to remember everybody. Honestly, I used to, but I got to tell you, I'm 47, so things are starting to go a little south. My memory, it's just, I think I have too much in there. So you want to sit down afterwards, maybe jot a few notes, put it in your phone, maybe connect with them right away with your LinkedIn. And that way you can stay in touch. Maybe you want to put some notes in your phone though, like met George at this event, works at X place and has a wiener dog. Like just some little notes to help you remember, almost like you're a salesperson that's gonna come back around and reach out to them because you may want to reach out to them. You may have something that can solve their problems or vice versa. So it's a great idea to reflect on those things and make some notes. Again, you don't have to get really serious about it. Just make a few. And then not everybody will be worth keeping in touch with, but even aim for one or two each time you go somewhere. And you'll start to build this huge network. I have a huge network of people. Even just on the way here today, I talked to like 9 different people, just checking in on them. How are things going? You know, I know you were going through this, or by the way, did you think about this training you want to do? And sometimes I just take some time to touch base again. The follow-up's really important, which leads us to follow-up. So with those contacts that you want to develop that, the relationship, you're gonna want to make sure to follow up. So even if that's, an informal coffee, or I often do Zoom meetings because it's so efficient. You can just message people, text them, message them through LinkedIn and just say, hey, would you have a few minutes in the next few weeks, right? Like, don't try to control their calendar. That's gonna be a turnoff. And then just try to find some time, because you are trying to get their time, but you also may have something to share. So it's a very fine balance of being super needy, like I need what you have and I need your information, and also giving them some help and information. So it's a mutual situation. So think about that. It can help you, it can help people, it can definitely help you be valuable in your life and your careers. And then stay in touch on social media. So like I said, I teach a class on this. I just threw in a few pieces from that training, honestly. So LinkedIn makes it super easy to stay in touch. Make sure you're using LinkedIn. Number one, it's a very nice tool. You can build it out as much as you want. You can keep it pretty simple. I always tell people take a few minutes each week to add a few things, fine tune it a little bit. But then you want to get connections. So go out there and think about all the people you used to work with. I don't even care if it was Dairy Queen in high school. Like go connect with your former people, maybe old classmates, maybe old teachers that you had, maybe family members, people you've worked with. You want as many connections as possible, especially if you know they're good people. So I would definitely build that out. Also, make sure you have contact information out there. As a recruiter myself, I can't tell you how many times I've tried to reach out to a connection for actual job opportunities to help them. And because they don't check their LinkedIn messages, and they don't have their contact information public, I can't reach them. So I'm pretty good at being an investigator. I can usually find you on like Facebook or something. But what ends up happening is if you don't have that contact information available, I might send you a notice that says, hey, you know, you're the perfect fit for this role. I want to talk to you. And then months later, they'll message me and say, oh my gosh, yes, this is the perfect job. I've always wanted to work at Poet. And I'm like, that job's been filled. You know, we can still connect, obviously, because there may be other opportunities, but that's just an example of why you might want to have your contact information out. What if somebody's looking to connect with you? And then also you want to do some updates and activities. So the best way I can say this to you is don't be a creeper on social media. Use it, actually engage a little bit, whether that's even starting slow by liking somebody's LinkedIn post or commenting on it like, oh, wow, that's great. I never thought of it that way. Or, hey, I actually know somebody that could help you with that. You could start small by commenting, then you could get a little wilder and start sharing some posts. Maybe you see something like of mine or this event today, and maybe you want to help out and you shared it out to your network and you say, hey, I'm going to this event today. I'd love to connect with anybody at it. There's so many little ways you can do it that's not so scary. Also, if you really want to go to town, you can write your own comments and post them or your own articles. And that's something I would strive for in the future, especially if you're pinpointed around what you want to be known for. So I only post about things that I'm really passionate about. So I have people reach out to me about training about communication, disc assessments, LinkedIn, recruitment, all those kind of things. I don't have people reaching out to me about woodworking or benefits or I don't know, border collies, because I post about specific things. So you want to brand yourself in that way and make sure to have some activity. And then remember, introverts and extroverts, I could post 85 times a day because I'm an I. All I want to do is share and educate and connect with people. But if you're introverted, that's not necessarily fun to you. So keep in mind, you could just start small and even challenge yourself to post something maybe once or twice a week methodically. Put a little reminder on your calendars for like Tuesday afternoon or Friday morning or something like that. And just start small. You just want to start driving people to know you and you'll start to network. And then introductions, like I said, what if you saw the perfect job or the perfect opportunity and you needed to talk to that person, but you couldn't get to them? Because maybe you even sent a message and they're not checking their messages. What if you saw that they were connected to me? Now you could reach out, like Travis might reach out to me and say, hey, I see you're friends with this PhD at Poet, and I really need him to come talk to our class or something like that, or speak at an event. It'd be so much easier for me to do a little handoff that way through introduction. So just use your tools. They're out there for a reason. Okay, let's move on to elevator pitch because I don't want to run out of time. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So the elevator pitch. So back in the day, this was really definitely a verbal thing, but even now it's become more of a, well, a little bit of a verbal thing and an online thing. So you want to have a concise way to introduce yourself and a few key points for what you're pitching. So whether it's to inquire investors, promote a product, advertise a business, or even sell yourself as a potential employee, which is definitely why you want to have this available. So it's just a quick, short way to do it. You can Google, Google's my friend. You can Google online and there's so many templates for you out there. I did stick a couple in here, but it's very simple if you just break things down. I'm a huge fan of breaking overwhelming things down to small chunks because my mind as an I goes so fast that I'm already like worrying about my funeral. So I have to bring myself to the present and really break things down truly. So if your elevator pitch gets longer than a minute, it might be getting too long. So another thing about this, I think I just read again the other day, 93% of communication is nonverbal. So I am a huge fan of like Zoom chats. So if I have to explain something to somebody at work, I will almost always Zoom chat it. With my friends, I will almost always Snapchat it because part of it is if I have to ask you to do something or I have to give you some weird feedback that maybe feels a little rough, I'm going to want to throw in some like good vibes and say, hey, thanks for the question, blah, blah, blah. Remember, same with your elevator pitch. It's not going to be so much about exactly what you're saying. It's going to be your energy that's coming out. That's going to go a long way for you. So always remember that. When we go to career fairs, I know how scary it is. I was scared too. And I have a very introverted daughter who would rather die than answer the phone. But she will sit there and, or, you know, people will sit there and be like very robotic. You know, they'll get their points across. Say they have an elevator pitch, say they learned about it in a class, and they're just hitting those elevator points. You want to try to work really hard on having a more inviting vibe, I guess is a good way to say it. Again, they were usually exclusively spoken, but now, you know, you might put this on your website, social media, video ads, marketing outreach, and media pitches. So depending on what you're doing, you may want to get this across. I also talk about on LinkedIn, a few years ago, they created a thing called a cover story. So let's pretend you apply to 100 jobs and you're not getting any even interviews, which PS does happen because that's a whole nother TED talk for you. But if you're having those problems, you might want to use that tool because the cover letter is basically an elevator pitch video. So you can hop on there, you can use it for sales, marketing, and for job searching. Or I could even use it to find a team member. So I could go on there and say, hey, we have this amazing opening in our engineering area. Here's what we're looking for. We have all these great things. Here's our benefits. Our teams love it, blah, blah, blah. And then I could just be done. It could be a short little thing, but it's a great way for you to use on your elevator pitch, because sometimes that might put you above to the manager that's hiring, because now they got to see that you have this really nice vibe. You seem like a fun person to work with, a very intelligent person. Those are important things to connect. Okay, so like I said, I threw some examples in there for you. Here's a really good example. It simplifies it. Your greeting, your name, the organization and title, what your organization does and why it matters. Again, go to Pinterest even. They have a zillion options for you. And then here's another nice template. Again, search online, practice this, okay? Find a teacher, a manager, a family, or a friend, or even a mentor or a few of your mentors. And then be real, be you, and know your gifts. Again, take an assessment that will help point you to what you're good at and what are maybe your weaknesses that you might want to steer clear from. But you want to know your gifts and live in them, and then you want to talk about them here. Same with LinkedIn, there's an about you summary section. You want to almost use this guide here for the elevator pitch and use that in there. I'm an adjunct at a school in Sioux Falls, and I often assign that out. I make people write that up for their summary because it's the worst part, talking about ourselves. Nobody likes to do it. So that's one of my tips. But use this as a guide. There's the hook, there's the value, the evidence, the differentiator, and the call to action. So these are really good templates for you to use, whatever feels more comfortable. Okay, and I also added these because you should print them and put them up near you. These are so important, and I just cannot tell you, from every job I've had at A&W as a waitress to a manager to an HR person, all the mediation I've done, I'm telling you right now, the number one issue and opportunity is communication. So here's some of my favorite quotes. Communication, the human connection, is the key to personal and career success. Very true. If you are a good communicator and you can figure out how to be a good communicator, not just with one person, but with every person you come in contact with, you will be successful. I promise you, because the technical abilities that you're learning or for whatever career you want to do, those matter. They definitely matter. Your education and your experience matter. But if you can't communicate it, it won't matter at all. Nobody wants to work with somebody if they can't communicate. Another one is, no matter what job you have in life, your success will be determined 5% by your academic credentials, 15% by your professional experiences, and 80% by your communication skills. So again, education is super important. I believe in it, obviously. I have a couple of degrees, but I'd get a couple more, honestly, if I could. But truly, your experience, your education, that is the foundation for you. Now, this communication part is going to be super important to your success. And then another one, the only way to on earth to influence other people is to talk about what they want and show them how to get it. So Dale Carnegie has a great book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I read it again a while ago just because it is a good foundational book. I would highly recommend it. It's very old school, but I think you'll find it interesting because it does get to the basics of humans, which is genuinely be interested in them and help them. And so that's what a lot of networking and mentorship is, caring about other people and helping them and being able to communicate that. And then this is also my favorite, especially for HR. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that has taken place. I'm going to give you a quick example. So I had a manager, he wasn't my manager, but I worked with him, supported him. He was a VP of a company I worked at a long time ago, and he had the most amount of teams and people reporting to him. But I swear not once was a goal ever met, and he was constantly frustrated. Nobody met the goals. They're always making him look bad, all these different things. And finally, I was able to use DISC to show him, like, it's actually you. You are the common denominator, because what was happening is he wasn't communicating. So then he started working on it and he thought he was communicating. So here's the other thing. He was a DI, super fast paced. D's go fast and I's go fast. And when they have both of those letters as their largest percentage of themselves, they are so fast that their brain is down a path that they have no way to understand that people aren't keeping up with them. They also aren't always able to see it as they're talking to people. They're down the path. So one thing I had to talk to him about was the communication again. And he would say, I know what you're going to say. I didn't communicate. That's why they failed. That's why we're not hitting the mark on this project. And I'm like, okay, so step 2 is that now we have to make sure that they understood us. So this is a huge thing to remember. Just because you sent an email, sent a text, sent a video, had a conversation, that doesn't mean they heard what you think they heard. So that's where you want to get very dialed in on things like, what did you hear me say? Or what do you think about that? Ask some questions so that you can make sure you're aligned, because I tell you what, this is the number one issue in my job. It's that people think that they have communicated and they haven't. This is in here. You can look at it later. I'm not going to spend time. But once you know your style, you can do this with Enneagram, Myers-Briggs, Strength Finders. This has tips. People seem to like charts. This is one of the favorites, but just examples about how to communicate with each other. If you're talking to a D, for example, or emailing a D, you better get to the point right away. You have to learn to be concise. So for me, for example, I used to have a manager that was very slow paced. He was CS. That was my mentor. And he wanted to hear every single detail. And it was very much a storytelling situation. He left and I had a manager that was a high D. She was very fast paced. So I had to completely change my communication style and come in and start with a point. So with him, it might have been like, remember a year ago when we talked about this, and then we did this and we did this and we did this, and then we sent them to the counselor and then we did this. By the way, we're going to let them go. With my new manager, I had to be like, we're going to let them go. And then I had to answer all the questions that she had after that. So just remember, you want to learn about these things because it can really change your life. Also, I threw in a few examples of good books about communication. This first one, Taking Flight's a good one. It's about DISC. It's told in a story form, but it talks about how there's a problem in the forest and basically they break apart, they can't get along, and in the end they come together using each of their gifts to communicate and problem solve. So it's a good one. I don't read books anymore. I have to listen to them because I think my ADHD is like over the top. So that's how I do it. I listen to a lot of books. So if you ever, we all have done this, or we will, work with somebody or meet somebody that they feel like everybody else is stupid. Everybody's stupid. Nobody's meeting the goals. No matter what I do, they're dumb. Well, they probably have low emotional intelligence. So just know you can actually adjust that. If you have low emotional intelligence, you can work on it. Thank goodness you can fix it. And then here's some others. The Dale Carnegie book I talked about, The Elevated Communicator. I'm just starting that one. And then Wired That Way. It's also, these are very much assessment based because it will help talk about your style and other people's style. And then the Enneagram is that's actually my favorite assessment. It can really be insightful for you. The Road Back to You talks about, the Road Back to You talks about your own styles. And then the next one, the green one, talks about relationships and how to work together. So you can really dig in. Okay, so we're getting close to the end. So the last part I'd like to talk about is mentoring and coaching. First, let me just say this. I would say I had really good parents, but the number one thing in my life that has changed my life and taken me from probably like not very motivated, not sure what to do, into a very pinpointed path has been mentors. And I had a really, really good one that changed my life. And I've had many since then as well. I'll often talk about my main mentor. Like I talk about it multiple times a day. People joke that he's not real. And they're always like, is he in the room now? Because he poured so much into me and believed in me so much. I was at the time, in a kind of bad marriage, just very much struggling. I had just got my second degree, not really sure what I wanted to do. And I was working a job, and this manager came into my life and really saw something in me and kind of put me under his wing and gave me confidence and said, you know what, you're actually better at these things. He was kind of like a real life DISC assessment. you're not so good at these things, benefits, payroll, detailing, gross stuff like that, that I hate. And then he was like, but you're really good with people. You remember them. You have a lot of energy. I think you should go towards training, recruitment, those sorts of things. And he started pushing me that way. He helped me, let me support him and learn that way and giving me confidence. And then over the years, I became a manager, and I really couldn't have done it without him. It matters so much to find the right mentor, and you're not going to be able to always find those without networking, because mentors just don't come running out at you and be like, hey, I want to mentor you. You have to build those connections. So what is mentoring? Simply put, a mentor is an individual who works with their mentees to develop and improve their ideas and strategies. Business mentors are usually accomplished and successful people. So you don't really want to be taking advice from somebody that hasn't done anything, right? So that's usually going to be who you're going to go after, somebody that's successful, but they can provide their mentees with the advice and guidance that they need to run and operate a successful business. So for me, it was just little things he would say in business that I knew some of HR. He came from the operations world. He came into HR and taught me a lot of stuff, but it was the little unspoken rules that nobody tells you. You don't learn them in school. There might be some books about it, but little things that make a big difference about communication and just doing things in a very quality manner. And he really taught me those things. So that's what a business mentor can do for you. He also mentored me in my personal life. I went through a lot of hard times when he was my manager, and he helped me with that. So finding a good mentor can change your life. They can also help you with your marriage, relationships, fitness. They can help you meet any goal. So you want to kind of look for somebody that is where you want to end up and connect with them. And you may need somebody to help you make those connections, which is why we started talking about networking. It can help you enhance your professional skills, accelerate your career growth. Absolutely. My one goal when I got into the workforce after college was I just wanted an 8 to 5 job. I wanted to be like an admin, and I just wanted to help people, and I wanted to go home and maybe have some babies. That's all I wanted to do. Have some wiener dogs too. But in the end, I ended up being like, you know what? I'm actually pretty smart, and I do a good job at those things. And having that confidence allowed me to progress my career. I would have never even tried to get promoted if I wouldn't have had somebody helping me. They also boost your staying power. So if you have a good mentor, this is why a lot of companies create mentorship programs within their companies, it makes it sticky. It makes it hard for people to leave. Like you guys know, it's easier to go to school or work when you have a friend or somebody that cares about you, that's protecting you or wants to help you. That makes a big difference, even when you have a final or something horrible that's stressing you out. Okay, so why does it matter? So mentoring matters for the mentor, because it increases self-confidence, increases self-awareness. Again, big issue. Leadership skill development, strong communication skills. As you're mentoring people, you can really start to understand, well, gosh, when I was mentoring Ricky, like he just got it and everything made sense. But when I started mentoring George, like nothing hit, nothing made sense. It was so much tougher. I guarantee you the opposite profiles, but it will help strengthen that mentor as well. They can master the art of delivering feedback. Oh, conflict avoidance. It's a huge thing. I was very conflict avoidance, but you know what happens when you avoid conflict? Things get worse. And then you got to deal with them later, usually in an emergency. So that's a good thing to master. You guys can even mentor people right now. You can mentor people that are younger than you or that are new to something. Ask better questions, become a good listener. Again, overall, it's just going to enhance that mentor's life. So you can look through some of those, but it's a great way to strengthen yourself as well when you're the mentor. When you're the mentee, it can increase self-confidence, again, self-awareness, improve your communication skills, better personal network with the business. So that mentor, I've met a lot of people through my mentors. That's partly what they were mentoring for, to connect me to other opportunities and people. Exposure to new and different perspectives. Absolutely. Again, my mentor was my opposite. So together we were kind of the perfect team, but there was so many things that he was teaching me about the way senior leaders thought. I was like, why don't they just do this? And he would give me the behind the scenes and help me see that other perspective, which I also was giving him the perspective of what it was like to be a job searcher or a team member that had a bad manager that nobody was taking care of, because he couldn't understand that. So it's very good for both of you. It will help you self-reflect. It'll help you with goal setting skills. You can learn from others' experiences. You can ask good questions. Just having that support, honestly, is a big deal. Having an advocate, huge deal. I would not be here without my mentor. And then increased chance of promotion for sure. And then increased job satisfaction. Again, if you have somebody looking out for you, it matters. Even if they're not in your company, if there's somewhere else, just to have somebody to text and go, oh my gosh, guess what just happened? What do I do? Like my daughter does that during school. She'll be like, this crap just went down, Mom, what do I do? And I'll help her. And then why mentoring matters to an organization or a group. I'll go over these really quickly. Overall, it makes everything better because now you have people that are tied in. You're helping your managers or your potential managers get good at helping other people, increasing their empathy, increasing their connections, helping them with perspective. I work with a ton of engineers. Engineers' profiles aren't always super intuitive, I gotta tell you. Their skill isn't absolutely like people. I have a few engineers that they're really good with people, but a lot of them are very like, this is how it is. This is the way it is. They don't see other perspectives. So having them work with other people really helps them. And then same for the person getting mentored. So just a wonderful way to help your culture. Also helps your productivity. And when you don't turn over that much, it helps you kind of get rolling because you can't do a lot when you're constantly dealing with turnover. Okay, so how do you find a mentor? Go to your school, go to your former school, talk to your people, talk to your helpers. Your HR team or your manager can help you. LinkedIn, even reach out to me. If you have maybe somebody you want to meet, I can usually connect you. I do a lot of job shadows. Sometimes I just ask people. I just try to be really nice to everybody because what if one of you wants to talk to like the head of our research? Well, because I have a good relationship, he'll talk to you. But if I wasn't very nice, he probably wouldn't. So it's a give or take. Also, you want to talk to family and friends. You'd be surprised how many people your family and friends know. And then networking groups, you can just go online, look for those or find them in your community or school. And then past managers or coworkers. Please give back. Like I said, you can even start mentoring. So as my favorite mentor, Kevin always tells me, be humble and pay it forward. I literally thank him like once a month and I'm like, he moved away now, but I always say, you changed my life. You really did change my life. My family loves him. He's just done everything. I love his wife. They're just good people. But he's like, the only thing I can tell, he was like, first of all, he's like, I didn't do anything. He's so humble. He doesn't think he did a thing, but he's always like, just whatever you can give, pay it forward. So I do. And then if you do that too, you're going to be surprised not only how more successful you'll be by giving, but also you're helping other people. You're actually trying to worry about them, but in turn, you'll actually get so much good back. It's amazing. And then by teaching coaching, you're just going to learn so much more. You're going to learn so much about yourself. I used to think I was just so clear and so like, yeah, here's how it is. And I started to realize as I got through assessments and worked with people, oh, wait, I was clear to these people and I hit like 85% of my population, but these people don't understand me. And so I had to adjust. I learned a lot. And then my motto, again, we're here to connect. So please connect with people. That is absolutely why we are here. So I'm going to open it up for questions. We only have a few minutes left, but please connect with me on LinkedIn. You never know how we can help each other. Any questions? Please, yeah.
You mentioned a few times now about the importance of LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
And I think we all kind of make that understanding or have that understanding as far as the social connection that takes place on LinkedIn. You've led trainings on LinkedIn. So let me just ask you, do you have 2 or 3 tips that you would offer the group that could help them enhance their LinkedIn presence?
Yes, quick tips that I tell everybody. Number one, make sure you have a nice profile picture that looks inviting. You can take your own, you can do a selfie. Just get something out there. The second thing is make sure to adjust this. This is called your headline. LinkedIn is based on keywords. Jobs literally, AI, right? They literally flow to you based on your key terms. So if you are not a woodworker and for some reason woodworker is in your profile, that is not good. You want to get things that you want to be found for. Especially even mentors and connection, like the right people are going to come to you based on the keywords. So when you put, let's say you even say student at SDSU, that's going to default to this area right here. you can edit it. So make sure to edit it, use all your characters, use some symbols to divide that out. So that's my tip number 2. And then my third tip, well, I have 4. Do a summary. That's hard, but use that elevator pitch to that summary section of LinkedIn. And then my 4th tip is truly use it. Don't just sit there. Don't be a creeper. Don't just look and scan and see what's going on. Engage with people, put yourself out there, share some thoughts. You'll attract people. It was a lot. Any other questions?
You mentioned you had to work on trying to meet these sites.
Mhm.
Tips on.
Boy, I mean, you're asking the wrong person. No, that's why I train, so I can just talk a lot. Honestly, have somebody help you. So I usually have managers that are DCs or CDs, and they're very good at it. And that's honestly what I've always had to do. I'll take all my stuff and I will have them help me. Even I'll just tell you guys a story. When I was a 3rd grader, we learned how to do summaries or book reports or whatever, where you have to like bullet point it out with the like Roman numerals. You guys, I swear it was my first mental breakdown. I can't pick out the most important part because to me it's all important. So I truly have to lean on somebody with those gifts to help me be concise. It's really tough. That's just honesty for you. Any other questions?
One final question.
Yeah.
You talk about professional networking. I think everyone recognizes the value of networking, but it can be intimidating.
Very.
Do you have a favorite go-to question as like kind of a cold intro to someone you've never met?
Yeah, it's almost always, where do you work? I mean, that's just what happens. You've probably seen quotes about this, but you could say something really kind of off the wall of like, what makes you happy? Like, I'm an ENFP. I just want to hop right into deep combos. But usually you're going to start with where do you work or even where are you from? Just start lightly because some people are super private. I'm an open book. I'll tell you anything you want to know. But not everybody's like that. So if you stick with like their occupation, because you're usually at those events for something related to that. If you were here going to a networking group, you might be like, what's your major, right? It's just anything that's an icebreaker, but also Google it. There's a zillion icebreakers out there for you to use. My number one advice to everybody is just use your resources, AKA Google everything. Anything else? Throw me a bone, just ask a question. I love when people ask questions. Well, reach out if you have any privately. I would be happy to help you.
There's one more question in the chat.
Sure.
Tips you have.
Yeah. Yeah, I would honestly just go to, depending on where you're at, go to your school, go to your teachers. If you're like, for example, if I was like a graphic design student here, I would go to my art teachers and my advisor. I'd go to experts. Always go to your experts because it might not be them, but they will know somebody. So that's what I do. I'm fully transparent. I don't know this, but I'm going to try to find it for you. It's connection. It's why connection is so important. Honestly, if you really want to go wild, you could put something out on LinkedIn or something and say, I'm looking for a mentor in this area. I mean, nobody's going to think badly of you to do that. So reach out to me, tell them to reach out to me too. I can give them some thoughts. It's just finding the right people.
I'm actually going to use that as a shameless plug, as an opportunity to plug our SDSU Alumni Mentor Program. So if you are a current student, if you're a junior or above, you'd be eligible to be a part of our Alumni Mentor Program. The whole intent of that program is we match you with alumni like a Wendy, right? And we use that as a chance to help kind of guide you as you prepare for that transition into your professional career. So we have wonderful alumni that have raised their hand to say, hey, I would love to be a mentor to an SDSU student. And they give great feedback, guidance, and support, opening doors, introducing you to other individuals in your field of choice. So certainly take advantage of that opportunity. But with that, I don't want to take any more of your time. I want to thank Wendy for being here. Please help me in thanking Wendy for being a part of this. I want to thank everyone that have joined us, whether they're here in person or via Zoom. As I had indicated at the very beginning of this session, this is something that we want to make a series. And so our goal is to have 3 more sessions in the coming academic year. So watch for more information pertaining to our next session that will be taking place in December. Thank you all. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, go Jacks.
Can I end?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, oh my gosh, so nice to meet you. We'll be friends online.